What's the haps? I'm John, aka Meroka, and welcome to Spiel. We're here in Amber Queen Tier 3 on Elite, and it is evidently an arena of some sort. It's a robotic arena, I guess. I'm not sure what the theme is. It might be fire. There's a lot of fire levels there, but then it sort of devolves into all sorts of stuff. Constructs, I suppose, is probably it. It's construct floor, construct, so voltage time. Cool, let's clear up the old interface and head on in. So why don't we kick things off with the big news of the day, the Spiral Knights news. So the one big news this week that, had it come out a tiny bit sooner, probably would have made it into my Spiral Knights news segment last week, is that Nick has left Three Rings. Nick, the lead designer, oh god, those missiles, no, is no longer the lead designer. Someone else is going to have to step up and take his place. And that's kind of a big deal, because it's his idea. Spiral Knights is his concept in the first place. So he was the man who made Spiral Knights become Spiral Knights. So, how will we manage without him? Well, he spent a long time building up a good team to stand in his footsteps, you know, to follow on from him. So I think we'll probably manage okay. If you look at his forum posts, I didn't realise half this stuff about it, but he's been working on Spiral Knights for 7 years now. I mean, you think how long the game's been out, it's 2.5 years now, and it's like, okay, that's, you know, if Spiral Knights has only been around 2.5 years, sure. But for him, he's been working on the project for 7 years. That's a bloody long time to work on anything whatsoever. I mean, imagine whatever you were doing 7 years ago, and imagine yourself still doing it now. I know 7 years ago, I had just started university, you know. So, that's kind of a while back for me now. I don't think of that as being... Unfortunately, I don't think of that as being recent times anymore. That's not in my recent history. I've done a lot of other stuff since then. So yeah, 7 years is a bloody long time. A lot of people... If you look on the forums on Reddit and everything, and there's a lot of reaction to it, almost as if he's like died. Like, oh no, we're gonna miss you terribly, Nick. Like, what do we do without you? No, we can't leave us, Nick. Yeah, he can. He's been working on it for 7 years. Let the guy go. I wouldn't want to be working on the same project after 7 years. That's crazy talk. No, I would never do that. So let the man have his peace and work on something else. Because the fact is, he's not dead. Not even close. He's going on to work on something entirely fresh and new. I imagine after 7 years he's probably a little bit burned out on working on the same game day in, day out for 7 years straight. So, me personally, I'm very interested to see what he actually comes up with. He's going on to work on game development independently, so whether that means he's going to get another small team together or just develop things on his own, I'm not sure, but either way, I'm very interested to see what he comes up with. And you do not need to let him out of your life. If you need Nick Popovich around, follow him on Twitter. I've said this about a lot of people. A lot of people are like, oh no, I don't use Twitter, or I don't get Twitter. Well, try it. You might like it. Follow people you find interesting, like, oh yeah, I don't know, Nick Popovich. Follow Nick Popovich on Twitter, and you will get updates as to what the heck he's working on. He will like... I can't speak for what he is going to post, but I would suspect he would likely be posting updates on whatever projects he comes up with next. If he starts working on a game, he's likely to tell you about it, post screenshots, get you interested in it, and you probably wouldn't hear about them otherwise, so it's a good way to do that. I'm going to have a step at the second room. And while you're on Twitter, follow me as well, because that way you might hear something from me. I do need to use that more, though. I'm not a heavy user. I'm just a follower on Twitter for the most part. I know a lot of YouTubers sort of... That's the wrong sword for the job, isn't it? A lot of YouTubers sort of tend to post all their video updates, and I never bother doing that. I assume you're going to get it in your subscription inbox. I don't really see too much point in posting on Twitter, but at the same time, any live streaming I do, if I do put an update, it's going to be on Twitter and probably not on YouTube. But that's something I've already been over in the last few weeks, so I'm not going to harp on about that again. Rest assured that as soon as I get my internet frickin' sorted out, and I am on with that, should be doing more live streaming. So, that's what's new in Spiral Knights. a slightly smaller team, which is not really new stuff. I suppose the Gunner update, still imminent. Speculation as to whether it's... I did see a thread on the forum saying, what do you think it's going to be here in January? Yeah, I'd still like to say yes. I mean, for all I know, it could land later today, and then I've got my work cut out this evening trying to cover that. Or it could land next week, which would be pretty much the last update day possible in January for them to, you know, actually drop the update, given that they tend to go out on a Wednesday. So if not today, it'll be next week. Barring that, I would expect to see, you know, a forum post saying, sorry guys, we missed it again. At which point, no one, not one of you has any permission to complain about that. You are not allowed to complain about these things. Stop whining, everybody who likes to whine about the lack of the updates. And they're trying to get it out, but hey, have you tried making a video game before? It's not easy. Give them some space, let them do their thing. Making awesome stuff takes time. It doesn't just pop into existence. So let them make things amazing. I mean, they've given you plenty of content for nothing over the last few months, so just give this one some space, you know? Anyway, so this is probably the wrong place to stop and try and read off my question sheet, because I got a couple of questions I wanted to do, but I'm going to see if I can't... I hope this is the last wave of these lots, because then I can stop and take a... Ow! You suck. You're dead. Are you the last ones? Yes, you are. Good. Wonderful. That means I can stop and ask a question of myself. So, I've written these in the other order, but actually now that I look at them, I want to answer them in the opposite order to the way I've got them written down, which is going to confuse me no end, I'm quite sure. Gnomza just messaged me yesterday. Our old Question Meister returns. By the way, everybody else, you are allowed to send me questions. Put them in the comments or message me in game or on Steam or what have you. Send me a question or a topic to talk about and I will try and answer them. This is a thing I do. So, Gnomza asks, what is your favourite sci-fi literature? And no, you aren't allowed to include The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy because we all know that. Give 1 to 2 titles and explain why. Maybe give a resume of the book, but be careful with spoilers. You don't have to be that elaborate. For some reason, he's always extremely elaborate with his questions and wording. You could just say, hey, what's your favourite food or something. That'd probably work. But no, I don't think everybody does know that I like Hitchhikers, because bear in mind that my channel has actually grown quite a lot over the last few months since I probably ever last mentioned Hitchhikers. So there are always new subscribers to be careful and mindful of, and they may not know things, so... Yes, Hitchhikers is a thing I'm a very big fan of, for those who are not in the know. But if I'm not allowed to include Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Alistair Reynolds is big up on my list. I have mentioned him a few times before, not least of which because I take all the names of my characters from his frickin' books. Meroka and Nimcha are both characters from a novel of his called Terminal World, which is a sort of steampunk science fiction thingy. It's very difficult to describe. Basically, it's set on a world which... I don't know whether it's Earth or not. It's kind of, at times, seems like it could be, but it has so many differences that it may or may not be. And, can I say, yay, loot! So, assuming it's not Earth, it was set on a planet in which there's some weird, strange force that is never explained within this world that determines what complexity of technology works in different areas. So different countries, different territories, different regions. Some areas, absolutely nothing, not even clockwork will work for whatever reason. It just rusts and breaks down and stops working. It's never explained. That's just the way things are on this planet. In others, you might get some simple steam-powered stuff. In other places, electricity will work. Other places, they've got more advanced stuff. And it's the center of the world, the main hub of most of the civilization, is a city called Spiel. And at the top of the city, they have super advanced, like, nanotechnology and stuff. And the people there are all super advanced and can fly. And they are referred to as the Angels. And, yeah... They end up going on a massive quest to save the world from destruction and stuff, so that's cool. Good book. And yeah, I liked it enough to take all the names of my characters from them. At the same time, he's taken all the names of the characters from parts of swords or various weaponry and stuff, so, you know, it's not like I'm stealing too much. Hooray! On the Spark of Life front. That's good. What else? I would... If you want me just naming books specifically, I'll just give you loads of his books, because quite frankly, they're all great. If you want other authors, I've read a good bit of Isaac Asimov. I really like his Foundation series. I know he's done far more than his Foundation series, and I really need to read a lot more of his other stuff as well. He's got a lot of other works. But yeah, Foundation is a great one. At first it's... I think... I'm trying to think how many books there are in the series. I'm not sure if it's... Is it like 5 or is it like 7? I think he started out writing 1 and intended it to be 1, and then people liked it, so he wrote more, and then he kept going, kept going, kept going. Ended up with 5, and then people still wanted more, so he did like 2 prequels to it as well, which is... It's a ridiculous, epic, century-spanning story, and I think that's what I really like about science fiction. Stories that span either ludicrous distance or time. A lot of Reynolds stuff does that as well. Hey, another spark. I like that. Just stories that either just expand so much of the galaxy or universe that your mind can't even wrap itself around the concept of traveling that far or over such periods of time. And it's like, I can't even begin to comprehend this, but I love it, you know? So, yeah, Foundation spans... The main 5 books span a period of about 600 years, and each book, or each section of the book, in fact, deals with an entirely new generation of people within the story. And then the Foundation prequels span about 60 years leading up to the start of it, so it's just a ridiculous story on the whole thing. It's a great one to read. Larry Niven, the writer of the Ringworld series, I've read them in a really silly order. I read the first one, then I read the last one, then I read the second one. I'm currently reading my way through the third one. And actually I'm finding the third one uphill going. The first 3 that I've read have all been really great stories. The third one is just sort of interspecies politicking between lots of sort of alien humanoid species and fighting between themselves and bickering and talking and discussing, and it's kind of dry for me. It's not my kind of thing. I'm probably not wearing the right gear for this, am I? I didn't really check this out ahead of time. Oh no, this'll do. No, that's fine. I can live with this. Well, I wasn't supposed to hit you with that, but hey. So yeah, Larry Niven, I would definitely would recommend the first Ringworld book. If you want to get a taste of that, definitely read the first one. That's a great one. The other ones are sort of, yeah, a bit hit and miss. The same, I believe, has been said of Frank Herbert. That's the man. Frank Herbert's Dune is supposed to... The first book is good. I've read that, but then every review I've ever heard of any of the other books in the series, everyone's just said, yeah, he was just cashing in on the success of the first one. It's all kind of mediocre, so there's that. But if you want to read the book that's inspired such concepts as Halo, Ringworld is where it's at. Go read that. That's a good one. And Elizabeth Moon is something I read through a big series of a couple of years back, probably at this point. It's kind of an up and down series. It's got high points and low points, but on the whole, it's massive grand military strategy in space, which on the whole is a pretty awesome concept. We're just talking giant interstellar spaceship battles, which is pretty sweet. It's a good read on the whole. There's a few sort of... I think around the 3rd book in the series it sort of breaks down and becomes a little bit psychological, but then the 4th book picks it up again and it's like, oh yes, big spaceships shooting each other in space. It's awesome. That's pretty cool. So those are the few that I'm mostly familiar with. I'm not great at being diverse in my reading tastes. I tend to pick an author and stick with it, unfortunately. So there's a lot of what people would call classic science fiction authors that I should have read that I just never have, and I probably will do one day, but it's getting myself around to breaking the habit of reading the same author. Like I say, at the moment, once I've finished this Ringworld book, once I've forged my way through it, I will probably go back to reading some more Asimov, actually, if anything, because he's where we get most of ideas about robotics within science fiction about. He's the founder of the 3 laws of robotics and all that stuff. And indeed, actually, his robot series actually ties into the Foundation series. It's the same universe, but it's like about 10,000 years in advance before the Foundation series, which once again ties into the I love stories that take place over tens of thousands of years. Some of the later books in the Foundation series deal with a character that was one of the main protagonists in the robot series, and he's just been alive for like 10,000 years or something, and you're like, what? This can't be right. If you're in any way at all familiar with his robot series, it's not that big a spoiler, actually. Holy hell, 3 sparks in one day! Oh, Nick, you love me. Nick's looking over me today. So, yeah, that's me on Sci-Fi. I need to read more, but what I read I'm quite happy with. It's a good selection, I feel. So, I've got another question. This one's more Spiral Knights-y. I think I've had this one for a few weeks now. I kind of been needing to answer this. So, Kovataro asks, what do you think is going to be the next major update for Spiral Knights after the Gunner update, and would you like to see more lore elements for the game? Starting at the top. What should be the next update, or what do I think is going to be the next update? I think the obvious choice should surely be a bomber update. I mean, if you're going to update the guns, update the bombs as well afterwards. I don't know how much balancing they are. I don't know whether the bombers themselves would agree that it needs updating, because I'm not a bomber, but I feel most of the players, obviously including myself, just tend to stick with swords because it's the most effective and most viable weapon for most circumstances. You hit something in the face with a sword, it's generally going to have a bad day. You hit something with bombs, bombs are situational, guns are also kind of situational. Whereas if you hit something with a sword, it just stops, and it does the job well. So maybe something to make bombs a little more viable as an all-purpose, actual, functional weapon and not a situational tool might be nice. I mean, I've got my Shiver Mist Buster, but the only thing it ever gets used for is stopping Vanaduke in his tracks, quite frankly. It has no other function for me. I mean, I got the Apocrian bomb thing. I think the only time that I find that particularly nice to use is the Jelly King, or Royal Jelly, whatever we're calling it these days. I know people are picky about that one. So, bomber update, and while we're on a bomber update, I want to see Blast Network overhauled. And, well, not necessarily overhauled, but some kind of incentive to update the Blast Network, you know? Just because nobody plays it, and before they added lockdown, it was fun. I liked it. I haven't actually played it myself in a while, so I'm probably I am part of the problem, I suppose, but at the same time I don't play it because I know nobody else plays it. And it's a fun little game. Just give us something to make people play it, and it'll be great. So, yeah, bring back Blast Network. I am a one-man campaign here, I realise. I'm the one-man campaign to save the Blast Network. But I shall rally around that till my end of days. Not particularly passionately, I might add, but I shall continue to rally, nonetheless. So, would I like to see more lore in the game? Hell yes! Yes, I would. I love lore. I love lore in games. Well, okay, that's perhaps too strong. I do love lore, but insofar as I do feel you may need to be invested in the game. There's a lot of MMOs that I've tried, free-to-play type stuff, just giving it a whirl, free trial type things in the past, and they foist loads and loads of lore on you at the start. It's like, oh, this is happening in this civilization, and this one's going to war with this, and this is happening, and this is happening. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't know anything about this world. This world means nothing to me. Why should I care? Is kind of the feeling I get. Okay, how do I deal with this? By removing that. Okay, that one can see me. You can see me. Oh god. This is. Oh hey, wouldn't it be nice if I'd brought a gun, you know, for this one situation? Oh jeez, that one can shoot as well now. Dang it. Go away, spikes. Oh, there we go. That's kind of okay, I guess. Okay, let's just put that down and go deal with him. too many things shooting. All the shoot. Christ. So yeah, lots of games throw a load of lore at you at the start, and yeah, expect you to be sort of enthused about it, and I just find it very difficult to be enthused, and I kind of get put off by that. If I'm going to be reading up on lots of backstory about the various nations going to war with each other, and you know, again, more sort of politicking and infighting, well, I want it to be something I care about. World of Warcraft. I will harp on about how well World of Warcraft does things till my dying breath, I feel. Because I have done on many occasions and probably will do many more in the future. World of Warcraft does things very well. It does not throw you in at the deep end with the lore. At the start of the game, you start out as a nobody, helping to cull a few animals in the local area. It's pretty boring, but it's easy and gets you lowered into the game sort of right off the bat. For whatever reason, it's simple enough that it sort of grabs people's attention, and then once you're actually invested in things, it starts throwing actual chunks of story at you that you might actually care about, bits of lore and stuff, and that's nice. They do that well. You don't get big heavy lore until you've played the game long enough to be invested in it. Spiral Knights, I think, is kind of light compared to other games, quite light on the lore altogether. I mean, if you dig under the surface, yeah, you'll turn up bits. I mean, obviously you've got the story of the Alpha Squad and Gremlin civilizations and stuff, but compared to something like World of Warcraft, there isn't much here. There's just a big set of dungeons that we just go through day in, day out for very little reason. Again, not checking to make sure that I've got the right equipment, but I'm sure it'll be right. I'll manage. I always have. I always will. It'll be fine. So, yeah, I feel like I would like to see more lore, but definitely tie it into sort of endgame stuff. Don't let players have to worry about the new players have to worry about it. But by the time we start getting to the Shadow Lair, I want some story, man. I want to know what's going down here. Once we're doing well, actually, I think with the Gunner update, or certainly the Arcade Redux, indeed, the arcade overhaul that's continually ongoing, and a suspected, prophesied, whatever the hell it might be, Tier 4 content. Now, which way's... Huh? Which way? Is this... Oh, there's just loot up here, that's right. Yeah. Tier 4, or whatever's post-Tier 3, let's call it that. Post-Tier 3 content. That obviously has the potential, because we're talking about another main antagonist to replace Vanaduke. No spoilers here, this is what Three Rings has already told us. They've told us that there will be another boss after Vanaduke to replace the fact that Vanaduke is kind of not really a threat anymore. We've kind of killed him a few 100,000 times at this point, collectively. Not personally, but I'm sure some people probably are getting there personally. Certainly killed him a few dozen times myself. I don't know how many times you got to kill a person for them to, you know, stay down, but Vanaduke, he's pretty persistent. So yeah, a new big bad endgame thing would be good, but of course they need the story to back it up, and they have said that there will be such a thing, so hopefully we will have a reason for fighting the big bad, and we'll get to find out, and it'll all be great. The missions did a little to add some lore to it, but again, only if you actually read and don't skip through it. If you skip through it, of course, you're getting no lore, but many people do. But there are some missions like, there's one where you have to read the diary of a fallen soldier, and he talks about the fallen civilization of Almaya. That's kind of cool, I like that. But, again, it's nowhere in-depth enough, it's just a cursory, yeah, this is why Vanaduke's like Vanaduke, and you don't get much more than that. I want to be able to sit and read wiki pages all evening, because God knows I did with World of Warcraft. That's good. That's if you can write books about the subject, stories. There are books written about Warcraft, you know. If you can get to the stage where there are actual, genuine, honest-to-God novels written about whatever the hell you're playing, that's good lore. That's great stuff. I've read some of the World of Warcraft books. They are wonderful, wonderful stuff. So, one final point. Oh, good, we are at the end as well. Oh, that times out nicely. Kovatoro also asks, will we ever see the Skylark again? Only if you believe we will, I feel. I don't know. Actually, I do have a little bit of point. I'm gonna go down to the terminal and harp on about it for about a couple of minutes more. The Skylark is almost kind of... This is a pretty poor punch, isn't it? Here, I'll have that. The Skylark almost kind of implies the end. If we see the Skylark again, it's presumably because we're going to be taking off in it again. We're going to be heading onwards back into space, and it's going to be the end of the game. Which brings me on to the next point, which is how do you end an MMO? And the only one I've ever heard of that's done it really, really well is Tabula Rasa, which probably a lot of people probably haven't even heard of, and I had to look it up, in fact, to find out what it was called, but I remember the story about the end of the game, and it's one I love. It's something I wish I'd seen and would love to be a part of something similar in the future. But the way they ended it was they just basically pretty much end of the world. The overworld, the GMs just turned up, I think they gave themselves the forms of some of the bosses and started summoning other bosses and went around just having a war with all the players. An unwinnable war for the players' perspective, by the way. They just went around and killed everything. The players put up a damn good fight, but it was literally, genuinely end of days. And I would genuinely like to see if Spiral Knights ever ended, I would like to see them put on some epic ending thing, some ending content, you know. It's like, okay, the reality of the situation is this game is not making enough money. At the minute, it clearly is, but, you know, one day it may not. So, for our loyal player base, we put together this one last grand hurrah for everyone. For whatever reason, we've got the Skylark up and running. We're going to have this big celebration in here, and everybody's going to get on the Skylark and we're going to fly off or something. I don't know. But it would just be something that would be spectacular to see, I think. I don't know why I did that, because I pressed the wrong button, that's why. So that's about it for today. Thank you very much for watching. I have been Meroka. This has been a Spiral Spiel. And if you got any questions, do remember to leave them in the comments below, and I shall try to answer them in the future. And of course, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, because that helps me out a bunch. So thank you once again. I shall see you next time.